Functions can also be used with lists, and we're going to see that today, how with a function we can get a list and return it. So we're going to have a list called, or function rather, called getNames. And x is going to be the number of names we want in our particular list. Now I'm going to show you something that sometimes I do. Sometimes if I have a local variable inside a function, I call it, instead of list, I'll call it flist, meaning function list, saying that's a variable that's just inside the list, or in the function, that I'll never use anywhere else. It's a local variable. I'm just printing a blank line here just because I should. So for I in range of x, that's how many names we want in our list. So function name, oops, can you see the mistake I made? I forgot to put the colon there. F name equals input, enter a student's name. So I'm just going to ask the person for the name. Then I'm going to say flist dot append fname. Oh, I spelled it wrong. I got to always double check that. It's a common mistake. We all make it. So what that's going to do is however many times I want, it's going to get a student's name and append it to the list. Could you do that for loop further down in the main program? Yeah. But now this is a more generic way to do it, a more general way to do it. You could use it for any time you want to generate a list. Then we're going to return, we're going to send flist back to the main program. So we can take in a number, like this might be 2 or 5 or 10, and we can return a list. A list is just another data type, another sort of like another type of variable. So let's see what we want to do. We need to know how many students are in our class. And it really needs to be an integer. Can't have a quarter of a student or something like that. How many students do you have? Remember, I like a space after I ask a question. I think that's good programming. Now to get the name, the class list, we're going to call getNames. We've got to send that same number of students, num, up here. So class list will eventually get whatever's in flist. So we send 10 students or 5 students. You say, well, why'd you make flist blank? We want it blank, we need it empty, so it's all ready to hold some names. Then we ask for a name, we append it, we put it in the list. Ask for a name, we append it, we put it in the list. And then maybe we're going to print it real nice. Print your students are, and maybe we'll even print like a line here to separate everything. Then we'll say for name in class list, so for every name in class list, print the name. So we used a function to make this list. We didn't need to. You could do it in the main part of the program, but now you have this function if you need to generate more lists within your program, or if sometime you want to reuse this code. That's where this is nice. Anytime you need to make a list, you could just go back to the old program, cut and paste this function. I do that all the time. When I'm writing a new function and I need something like to get a name or get a number from somebody, I don't reinvent the wheel, as they say. So let's run this. And yeah, I got to save it first. And let's see if I made any mistakes. So maybe I have 4 students. Billy. Oops, I hit something funny here. Enter Susie, Alice, and Bobby. Yeah, and it printed them out, no problem. Now I have another little thing here, another little function I'm going to show you right in this program, and it's in our worksheet packet. And it's called the getNumber function. And this is nice. GetNumber phrase. So we're going to send a phrase up here. Now watch what I'm going to do. Check equals true. I have a variable that I want to say is true. So while check is true, we're going to try something. And this is new. This is called error handling. X equals, now we want an integer in this case. Input phrase. You say, well, what's phrase? We're going to send the phrase up to the function. So if they put in an integer, check equals false. So this says, while check is still true, ask the user for an integer. And phrase is just something we're going to send up. And if I enter an integer, check equals false, and we're done. But if I don't enter an integer, except print, that's not a valid number. And I'm not going to change the value of check here. I'm not going to change the value of check because I want it to keep doing that. I'm going to return X. What this is going to do is keep checking until I enter a valid number. So how am I going to do this? What I'm going to do is I'm going to say number equals getNumber. How many students do you have? So how many students do you have is the phrase. So when I call the getNumber function, it'll go up to phrase, send that up there, and ask if I did everything correctly. And let's see. So let's say I try to say I have 10.5 students, which I can't have. I either have 10 or 11. It's not a valid number. Let's say I forget and I enter Billy. Let's say I enter 1 and I accidentally hit another button. It's not a valid number. It will keep doing this until I get 3 numbers. Then I can put names in and no problem. So this is a very special function. It's in your worksheet packet, and it's a really good way. It's called the try except. It's called error handling to make sure that you don't get an invalid number.